Welcome back, everyone, to the Romans podcast, and it's the first proper episode we're doing in a good couple of weeks now. Only got Joe here today because obviously it's a very busy period. It's exam period, it's towards the end of the football season too. So we've not really had a lot to really talk about form-wise either. So a whole combination of factors as to why we haven't really been doing many episodes recently. The podcast room is very fully booked for the students that actually need it for their course as well. So that's a big thing. But yeah, Joe, welcome back to the podcast.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, just a sort of back-to-back conversation today, I guess, about Bath as of late. I think since our last episode, we've had a good number of games. I think we had, obviously, George has done his sort of tactical coverage of a lot of them. So like Hornchurch, Horsham, a lot of sort of a tactical view. We had a Chelmsford game, lost that one 7-1. We lost another game. Was it? No, it's Farnborough 1-0. I think we did just about cover Slough. I think that was the last game we covered on an actual podcast. And then obviously we had Tunbridge the recent Saturday, lost that 1-2. And then another loss on the Tuesday night at home to Hemel Hempstead, who, to be fair, I think have been one of the best teams I've seen come to Twerton Park, but I'm not saying we necessarily played amazing ourselves either.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the way that Hemel controlled that game and how they game managed it in the second half was fantastic. I think we were very much in it until they went 1-0 up, and as soon as Hemel went 1-0 up, I didn't think we really threatened at all for the rest of the game, really.
I think we showed a bit of life in the first half. We were trying to do some things. We almost scored through Wilson, but that second half was atrocious football. I thought it was, once we conceded that first goal and once Russ went off injured, I think the midfield suddenly looked extraordinarily weak with Shepherd and Pritchard.
Yeah.
They basically just cut through us like a knife through butter, and then that second goal went in, and I thought the players after that just looked utterly defeated, to be honest.
I think the wind direction was a big thing as well.
The wind played into it. It was bobbling around quite a bit, but
it's winding for both teams.
It's windy for both teams, and frankly, there were some people I heard chanting about the referee, and it was just one of those like, it's not the referee, man.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
it's not the referee.
Well, think about it. Fans, like, obviously a key thing that we're going to probably definitely cover in this podcast at some point is Darren Way's, I don't know whether it was sacking or resignation. It's been described by some as a sacking, described by others as just a chat and a resignation. But I think it was more just the board kind of.
I think it was a sacking. Yeah. Because he wouldn't want to walk away without his compensation, would he?
Yeah, that is true. But, I mean, like, the fans don't really have Darren to go at, and football fans always need something to go at. So if you can't blame and dig out the manager for a game, it's going to be the referees, isn't it?
I think it was quite sad to watch, really, because I think, especially in that second half, it looked like physically they were being outran enormously. Technically, I think a lot of the passing was quite poor. They were devoid of a lot of ideas. I think a lot of that is a hangover from the previous management, which was basically, a very similar tactic being played all the time. And they just didn't have the ideas or the mental strength, I think. I think it's got to the point where they know we're probably going down. And I think that was reflected. It wasn't a good atmosphere.
I think a very interesting thing that I noticed about how James Moon, the stand-in assistant manager, lined up yesterday was he put Alex Fisher in centre mid.
Yeah.
Now I think the reason for that is you're missing your Tilson, you're missing your Bowman, you're missing that big lad in centre mid to win all the balls, and it makes sense. Fisher's a tall lad, put him in there, done job. But at the same time, it's like it didn't really mean that Fisher's not really a passer, isn't it? He's somebody who can just run onto loose balls, hold up play, flick on play.
I think it's one of those that, like, we're heading for relegation and we've scored, I believe, 36 in 38 games, which is a terrible.
Well, obviously we've got 8 games left of the season. I think if we don't score, I think if we got to score 4 to equal Dover. And since National League South, since 24 teams were brought into the National League South season, the lowest scored by a team in a season was Dover, who finished 24th and scored 40 goals. So if we don't score 4 more goals in our remaining 8 games, which, you can't rule it out. We've had so many games where we haven't
Very
scored.
possible, yeah.
Yeah. There's a big chance we could be, in terms of when the National League South started having 24 teams, the lowest scoring team.
I think going forward, we're just quite poor. But I was questioning why the new temporary manager, especially when we would go a goal down, we need any points that we can possibly get. You just need to go attacking. You don't play the one striker, and I think they started to play more like long ball, just sort of hitting it forward, hoping. There wasn't any sort of proper build-up in our play.
Well, Scott Wilson was our biggest threat on the pitch. He had a lot of chances in the first half, and he subbed him off at about, 50, 60 minutes?
I think, they gave up, as in the management and the players. I'm not necessarily saying it's a massive criticism. I'm saying it must be ridiculously hard at the moment. I don't think the energy's there. I don't think the mentality, the belief is there, and it's sad. But it did make me think quite a bit when I was looking through just like how they were coming through our midfield so easily. We really lack physicality, and I think that's been a problem for a lot of the season. Actually, you were talking about like the big midfielders and stuff.
Yeah.
At this level of football, having some physicality and strength and stuff is so important.
I think that's why, we played Tilson so often. Even though he's lost a turn of pace, he still has some level of physicality in the middle that is really helpful. I don't know why he wasn't in the squad yesterday. I mean, he served his suspension, so it must be something injury related or something like that. Or maybe he was involved with the coaching staff. Who knows? He's a senior player. But, Bowman's out injured from that tackle at Horsham. He's been a massive loss as well. He was our sort of saving grace, I guess, in some games. He was just the man who could take it forward, but we didn't really have anyone who could do that against Hemel.
What did you think about the game at the weekend?
I didn't go, actually, but I saw the result. It's one of the rare games that I missed, I guess, partly because of, it's still the heart of the beginning of the meningitis outbreak. It seems to have died down now. But, at the start, you don't know how big of a widespread thing it's going to be. But, I tuned in on Live Score. I listened to the radio. Sounded again like very much how a lot of Darren's games go. It's like the first 15, 20 minutes, you're completely on top. We go 1-0 up in the first 6 minutes. Putman misses an open goal, hits the crossbar. Could have easily been 2-1 up with that chance as well. I don't think there was necessarily poor in the first half, but it's a common case of our team that we're always better in the first half. We lost yesterday's game 3-0, but we were still probably I wouldn't say the better team first half, because I still think Hemel were moving the ball better, but we did still create chances in the first half, and we created nothing in the second half, and we could have easily gone 1-0, even 2-0 up with the chances we created in that first half.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We should probably talk about the elephant in the room, the big one.
Yeah.
The sacking of Darren Way.
Yeah. I mean,
what are your thoughts?
I think it was due to come, I think, just purely not necessarily because it's his fault. I don't think there's a single person who's at fault for why we're performing this way. But more so for the fact that, the fans, every game they were cajoling him to get out. It was clearly not a very good mindset for him to be in, a lot of the blame falling on him at the end of each game, and then that's going to affect his morale, and then he's going to get defensive and start putting it on the players, and the players' morale is going to go down. It's like a whole sort of morale train that is hit down when you're performing like this, and it's just kind of like a tunnel you go into, and you can't get out the other end. You know what I mean? And that's what relegation is basically. You fall into that never-ending spiral of loss after loss after loss, and that defines a relegation team. And the thing is about National League South this season is that, while in previous seasons you had, like last season, for example, you had Averley, you had Welling, you had Weymouth, all three of those teams that would go on like long losing streaks. You didn't really have any of that this season. I think the biggest losing streak before our one was Hampton and Richmond around sort of November time. We beat them. We were one of the teams that beat them in that point as well. but they sort of picked up a bit of form. And, it's most of the time it's the losing streaks towards the end of the season, which are really impactful. And unfortunately for us, it has come at that certain time, especially with all our injuries and everything as well.
It's been really prolonged, though. It's not just the end of the season. It's been for quite a long time. I mean, I think we've won 7 games this season. Am I correct on that number?
Yeah. I mean, again, though,
That's
look,
terrible.
You got to look at last season, though, because I think in terms of the amount of points we had around January time this season, it wasn't all that different for the points we had at January last season. And last season, we obviously ended up finishing 15th. But this season, honestly, we were sort of similar amount of points, but a lot of teams below us and a lot of teams above us were getting points too. And the thing is, you kind of like when that's happening, and also I think
which is why a change was made, though, wasn't it? Last season,
the postponed. Yeah, again, though, that change was made at Christmas time, whereas changing a manager with 9-8 games left of the season, well, technically even less, because we haven't actually brought in anyone new yet. We've just brought in somebody we already had in the back staff to manage one of our remaining 9 games. So now we've only got 8 games, and I don't even think they'll get in someone at the weekend either. So probably at most, our new manager will have 7 games at most. And that's the turnaround of the season.
I don't think a new manager will come in before the end of the season.
Yeah,
because they surely want to take the time to make sure that they get the right one for the next season.
Yeah, I almost think that, I mean, the club have to keep saying that they think they're going to survive relegation, but I think I kind of agree with you on that one. I think the new manager isn't a bid to try and a final bid to try and survive. It's kind of a bid to try and adjust. They need a new squad builder, basically.
It just got to the point, though, the relationship had broken down so much with the fans. I think in the dressing room, I think there were probably problems. We've had issues, and also there was sort of things like massive 7-1 defeats, and then, to be honest, in some of the post-game reflection from Darren, a deflection of the blame very much towards the players. And to be honest, on an individual game, you can say this player didn't play well, this player didn't play well, but across the season and the deteriorating results and what you see being, we say quite often, like, we're watching the same game basically again. So he doesn't change anything and he doesn't, try a different game plan. Well, at that point, frankly, it is the manager's fault.
Yeah.
And I would say that the vibes, which are quite important in
injuries,
a football
though.
club. Injuries.
What do you do about injuries? Because obviously, like, moving on to this, like Will Jenkins-Davis, you look at how we were performing in the first half of the season. I know it still wasn't great, but we still had that creative spark, and he was sort of that player that was our creative spark. And I probably do agree that he was probably overplayed a bit, and that's why he's being injured so much now. I think I looked at his minutes on Transfermarkt. Every game bar one was 90 minutes every single game, and we didn't. If I'm being honest, we didn't really need that, because there was games where we were like 2-0 up. Just take him off at that point. You just kind of like, we're taking off all our other attacking players to go more defensive, but he's the one you need to be taking off because he's the one you need to be resting. And I think another big loss for us, I think possibly one of the biggest, was Ollie Tomlinson, because I think he is a much more important centre-back than people think, because I think he is essential for balance. Because, you got your Batten and Parcell, they're like kind of just 2 natural centre-backs. They sort of lay low, whereas Ollie Tomlinson can sort of be a back 3. I don't really think Reigns is destined for a back 3. He's more better going forward than he is defensively. But when you could have a back 3 of Parcell on the left side, Batten in the middle, Tomlinson on the right, and then you could put Greenslade and Reigns further forward in wing-back positions, the balance of the back line was so much better, and that's exactly why we stayed up last season, is because of that back 5 that Darren would always go to. We'd get points at places we weren't expected to get points. We'd get wins because we'd be able to sit back on it and defend it out, but we haven't been able to do that since Tomlinson's injury.
I agree that's a big loss, but I would also say that our biggest issues this season haven't generally been defensive. Most of our losses have been by 1 or 2 goals.
Up until this point.
Up until recently. And for me, the issue then is we're not scoring goals. Because if you score even just a small number more goals, you're going to start getting draws and maybe some wins.
Yeah,
But constantly we were dropping points by just like a singular goal. And I think going forward the entire season, and frankly last season too, it's just been really poor. And they've just had, on the whole, sort of a lack of vision, identity. And I think that comes from the manager.
I mean, we didn't score a lot of goals last season when we stayed up. And when people forget how high we finished last season. Yes, we were in a relegation battle for most last season, but we finished 15th. And bear in mind that the first relegation spot is 21st. We were 15th and we were, I think, 8 points away from 9th. So 8 points away from 9th, that's not a big deal, big lot. We picked up a lot of form towards the end of last season. We still weren't scoring a lot of goals, but we were better defensively. We were only -1 goal difference towards the end of the season, which is, that's mid-table goal difference, really. So something has definitely changed in the defence, and I think Ollie Tomlinson's injury was a key part of that. Because you look at, first part of the season, we were losing by 1-2 goals, whatever. Tomlinson's injury around December time, you get into the new year, and now you're losing games 4-0, 7-1, 3-0 at Hemel Hempstead. It's a big difference, but that is what happens. I mean, you can say we've been unlucky with injuries, you can say we've been unlucky with ref decisions, but also you got to ask, where are the goals coming from? We didn't sign a killer attacker in the summer. We signed a creative player who is our top scorer as well, but he needed to be partnered with another striker. And I hate to say it because I don't want to say, obviously it's a community-run club. It's like, players play here because they just enjoy, for the love of the game basically, and love of the club. But I would have said that Wilson and Fisher at the start of the season were probably past it, and we probably should have tried to offload them while they were, if they were on contract or whatever, and brought in, a striker, a goal-scoring striker, young striker to replace them. And
I think that was so important. And instead, sort of all of the eggs got put in the basket of Jenkins Davies and hoping that he'd be our salvation. And knowing probably that we did have weaknesses in attack, it was just hoped that he wouldn't get injured. And as you say, he played so often prior to that injury. There's a lot of anger going about towards the board and the chair, especially around the sacking. Not that he was sacked, but the delay basically in doing it. And there's some things going around that he might have been on a contract until the end of next season. You say that we finished 15th last year.
Yeah.
Do you think that justified a massive long contract at this level, which makes it really financially difficult to get rid of him?
Well, I'm not sure when his new contract was signed. For all we know, that contract could have been, it came in December time, midway through last season. So for all we know, that could have been a 2-year contract, and that could have meant that he was here to the end of December this year, not to the end of next season. So that would make sense to me, like 2-year contract, get him in. First year is him keeping us up, and second year is him building on that squad. He obviously didn't deliver on that second, I guess, term. I mean, that's just us assuming what the terms are. But, I think the board probably did regret keeping him on until that long, but I think they almost were maybe a bit too sort of, I wouldn't say cocky as such, but too confident in the fact that because Bath have a good record in National League South positions-wise, that we would build on 15th rather than fall from it.
I think they should be worried, though, about a lot of things, particularly on the financial side, because going down, which it very much looks like we're going to do, is going to really harm the club. They've not made the changes that needed to be made in time, and now it will really hurt the club, because frankly you may have quite a loyal fan base, but there's a lot of people who will not be going and paying £18 every single game to go and watch the club in the division below.
Well, I think hopefully the ticket prices will go down for a start. That's the fingers crossed, but I wouldn't say any.
The club
promises.
Has debt, and it has various improvements that it needs to finance.
It's also a big thing to argue that, a lot of people are like, oh, Bath are going down. It's all right. We're big enough. We'll come straight back up the league next season. But anyone who thinks that, it's actually a massive, massive achievement if you've gone back down into the league below and you come straight back up to National League South, because it's barely ever done. A lot of teams that go down from National League South take a couple of seasons, if that, to get back up. Some of them even go down a couple of divisions. So obviously we've got here the teams that obviously went down from National League South last season. I'll just get it up now. So last season we had Averley finishing in 24th, and out of the 4 teams, they are the only ones who seem like they're going to stand a chance of coming back up. They're second place. They can't get automatic promotion anymore. It looks like Folkestone in Invicta have secured that. So Averley may be coming back up, but they still got to go via playoffs, and that's not obviously that's obviously not a confirmation that they will come back up. The other teams, however, Weymouth, for example, they got relegated to the division we're going to from National League South. They're 16th and still in a relegation battle at the moment. Obviously 19th in the Southern League Premier.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Is the one that, so they're only 3 points clear of relegation. Welling, another one, they went down into Isthmian. They are 19th in a relegation position, and they could be going down another league too. And then finally, you got St Albans, who have been all right, to be fair. They had a bit of a shaky start to Isthmian. It doesn't look like they're going to get a playoff spot, but they have finished. They are 9th at the moment, so sort of mid-table. So, out of those 4 teams that went down last season, Averley are the only ones that stand a chance of getting promoted, and 2 of them stand a chance of getting relegated.
Yeah. I mean, it really does put it into perspective that I've heard some people talking around the ground about, like, it's possible that relegation might be something of a reset for the club that could be in some way positive.
And
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all, because you look at that and it's like when you get relegated, you lose maybe some sponsors, you lose gate income, you lose probably a chunk of your squad.
It's a big difference as well, National League South to Southern Premier Division South, because
you may not be able to get the same loan players in.
It's also like televised rights as well. Think about it. DAZN do National League South. That's the lowest level league in the UK that is televised. I don't think any division, I might be wrong, but I don't think any division below National League South and North is televised. Like National League is the position which is financially stable enough for a club, for example. Yeah. But as soon as you go down to a league lower, you're basically like, don't want to say it, but like in between a league club, a proper league club, and a Sunday league club at that point.
Yeah. And the money really is a big thing, because you look at like the wage bill that the club will have, and that is based on the income that they currently have. But if they're going to get lower crowds, which I'd be very surprised if they wouldn't, probably have to charge people less, as I say, may lose some sponsorships, it's going to be difficult. Players also don't want to necessarily be playing in that level.
I've got a big question here, because obviously we'll probably do a separate episode of this probably during the summer. But in terms of our current squad, who do you reckon stays and who do you reckon goes if we get relegated?
It's a good question. I think Jenkins Davies probably moves on, because he should be playing at a higher level than that.
I think Ollie Tomlinson will as well. I think his contract ends at the end of the season.
I think Rains could go.
Ooh,
but
I don't think Rains will go. I think Rains and Batten will stay. Probably the most likely players to stay, purely because of the fact that they're at the end of their career. I don't really think they're going to look to move on to another National League South club. So unless they go to another team at the same level as will be, I think Rains and Batten are fairly safe here. I mean, Harvey Wiles Richards obviously is another one of those loyal players. I'm a little bit more on the fence about him maybe staying, because I think he's still young and he still has a lot of career ahead of him.
Yep.
I can see him making a move to Western-super-Mare. I don't think he'll go Chippenham, but I think at worst he'll probably go Western-super-Mare, but at best he stays.
Yeah, no, I think that's very realistic that he would probably leave. But I think most of the back line, like Batten and I think Parcell, would probably stay. But then something that has to be said is a lot of these players are getting older. They're losing a lot of their physicality and stuff. I think, and they're probably players which, if we were staying in this league, we would probably be looking to refresh and move on and stuff. But that might not be possible.
Well, one of the players that I wish stays is Mitch Beardmore, purely because of the fact that we've loaned him out to Plymouth Parkway, which is probably going to be the league we're playing in next season. And whenever he plays in that division, he just reignites into a different player. It's like he is perfect for Tier 7. I don't want to say it to him, but like he scored 11 goals in 20 games, I think, for a Tiverton or Mousehole. I can't remember who it was, but he scored. He was a second. He played second striker in that division, and he scored on his debut in that league. So I think if we go down and he's had a loan there, there's a high chance that he probably stays and becomes quite a key player for us next season.
That's possible. I think Jordan Alves would probably leave.
Yeah,
I don't think he would want to be playing.
Yeah,
in the lower division.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and I think he's like you look at some of the crowd reactions that he gets. I don't like. There's a lot of toxicity towards him as a player. We obviously do not condone that whatsoever. You should never be toxic to your own players. Manager at the most we can tolerate, but you don't. You got to stand by the players until the end because they're trying for the same thing as you. But I think a lot of people think with Jordan Alves that a lot of the time he isn't unselfish enough, if that makes any sense. He kind of holds onto the ball for too long, and a lot of people are like, is he doing it? Is he not doing it for his TikTok page?
It's a very common thing to hear. Yeah. But I think there is something of a like a self-importance about him. And he likes the show being.
You get players like that.
Him.
I mean, you get players like that who are very successful. Like, I guess the most popular example would be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Jordan Alves is not Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, well, no chance. But I guess you get players who have a level of self-importance, but are still,
you've got to have the talent to back it up.
Yeah, basically, pretty much. But I guess a sort of a good example for this league level, you'd probably say, genuinely, I think Ewan Clark's not too bad. I mean, I know he wasn't amazing when he was here, but I think if I was to choose between Ewan Clark and Jordan Alves for who had the better ability, I think they're both kind of held onto the ball for a long time. I think Clark just has a little bit more talent to him than
I'd probably
Alves.
agree.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Jordan Thomas is a big one. Like, he was fantastic, but he'd pass the ball as well.
Yeah.
Like, you do have to, no matter how much of a good player you are for this league and how many players you can take on and beat, at the end of the day, it's about how many assists you get. And
it's what you do after, skilling a player.
Yeah. It's about the end product and that.
Yeah.
But I think one more thing I wanted to tackle was Hemel Hempstead said yesterday. Obviously, James Moon is the academy manager, and he subbed on 2 academy players, Louis Sweeten, who I think we've recalled from loan, and Owen Pritchard. And Owen Pritchard came on for Luke Ross in the first half and played the rest of the game, while Moses Alexander-Walker, who's been loaned here from Newport, unused substitute. Donovan Wilson, who's been loaned here from Dagenham and Redbridge, unused substitute. Undoubtedly 2 players that are probably better to bring on in terms of their experience. And it's 2 young players that come on. Do you think that's just we're giving them young players a chance because we think that they're going to be key players to our squad next season? Do you think that's almost like James Moon saying, right, well, Pritchard and Sweeten will probably stay because they're from our academy for next season if we go down. So we need to give them some more first-team game time.
I don't really know why he would do that, because I don't think he's going to be manager next season. Maybe it's because he's got a relationship with them.
I mean, obviously he's the academy manager, so he knows them well, and he probably, I'll give you a bit of game time. But I do think there's an element too of him saying, right, these 2 lone players are on the bench. Moses Alexander-Walker and Donovan Wilson, they've barely had any games on since they come to us. I think the way Moses is being treated by the club
it's ridiculous.
Isn't great. Yeah, he has not had a single... And Luke Skinner as well. What's happened to him? Haven't seen him play in a good few
these are
games.
Good players. They've played reasonably well when they've come on and shown really good flashes of talent. And for some reason, they're not playing. What's the point of them coming if they're just going to sit on the bench? They can sit on the bench at the parent club.
And that's not going to...
But it also doesn't bode well for in the future if you want to get loan people in. And clubs can go, well, in the past, when you've had these players, you've not played them. You've disrespected them. I
think the only good example we've had of that is Jaden Putman came in and he's been playing a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess that Joshua Lacaretabua guy, I think I've got that pronunciation correct. I think that was probably quite a good attempt at it, to be fair. But I think he's had a couple games. He's played most of the games since he's come in. So besides him and Jaden Putman, a lot of the lone players we brought in, we've kind of Darren played Donovan Wilson for a couple of games. Obviously got injured.
Yeah.
Luke Skinner was played for a couple of games. Moses was played for a couple of games, but ultimately, I don't really understand it. But I do think there's an element of Pritchard and Sweeton are probably likely to stay at Bath next season. Let's give them some first team game time so they can adapt to playing regular Tier 7 football next season.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Should we just say, do you think we're going down?
I don't want to say it, but for me personally, and this is my personal opinion, this is not a factual statement because obviously we still need to get behind the club in these last 8 games. If there is a slight element of hope, we've got to stay by it. But my personal opinion is that we are now inevitably down. I think now it's a case of don't finish last. And I think this game against Eastbourne on Saturday is a big sort of don't finish last game. If we beat them, I'm comfortable, we'll go down with a little bit more of a fight. But I think looking at our league position, the points difference, looking at Chippenham picking up form, Enfield got a win on Tuesday, looking at Farnborough picking up form, Hampton and Richmond picking up form, it's like if we do pick up form, I think it's going to be too late. I would like to see us go down with a fight, but at this point, I think we are inevitably down and it's all about just trying to go out in style, you know what I mean?
It would take a miracle to stay up. I'd give it like 3% chance or something.
Well, if you placed a bet on it, you'd be a millionaire. So that might place a bet on right now on Bath City staying up or finishing like 20th this season.
Yeah,
and your returns will be insane on that.
I mean, if anything was to be made, you have to win against Eastbourne.
Well, I said for the Eastbourne game,
I doubt it will be.
I said for the Eastbourne game this weekend, and just capping off the podcast here because I've realised we've gone over time a bit. I said for the Eastbourne game this weekend, I'm going with George and Tommy, and I'm meeting Chef Chris there and everything. Gorilla City slaps. I know he's a regular listener of the podcast. How he showed up for the Enfield game, he was so drunk that he didn't remember the score at half time. That's exactly how I want to be, because I think that'd probably be the best way of enjoying that game, not knowing what the score is at half time because you're so drunk. Could be 4-0 down, could be 4-0 up, doesn't matter. Like, naturally, I'm having a good time. I'm drinking so much that I don't even know what the score's going to be.
Yeah. If you're going to travel, you might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice day out with Eastbourne at the end of the day, and that is what I'm more looking forward to than the football, unfortunately. But, that's just me.
Bath are not very likely to entertain you.
Yeah. It's always the weakest part of the day on a Bath City away day. Most of the time. Sometimes it's fantastic, like Dorking and Hampton. You never know what you're going to get, exactly. Anyway, thank you for listening today. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll hopefully be back next week for next week's episode. Goodbye.
Indeed. Goodbye.